Namaskar, aspirants, and welcome. Today, we're going to dissect a really crucial topic, one that's vital for your GS Paper 3 and your interview preparation, the whole global debate around pandemic equity. This single question really captures the heart of the challenge, doesn't it? When contagions don't discriminate, why should cures? It's a powerful thought that gets to the very core of the dilemma we're examining today. Okay, so here's how we'll break it down. We're going to structure this discussion logically, moving from the problem to the solution, and then looking at the geopolitics of it all. This should give you a really solid framework for your mains answer. All right, let's begin with that core inequity. You see, at its heart, the problem is a fundamental imbalance in our global health system. It's simple, really. The risks are shared, but the rewards are not. Think of it as a one-way street. Developing nations, the places where new pathogens often emerge, they're expected to share their biological data. But the developed nations that use this data to create vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics, what we call VTDs, they're just not obligated to share back. So what you get is a system where this incredible advanced research is fueled by data from the developing world, but it happens mostly in the global north, and naturally the benefits stay concentrated there. This is what led to that term you might have heard during the COVID-19 crisis, vaccine apartheid. And please remember, this isn't just some abstract academic debate. The real-world consequences of this inequity, well, they're catastrophic. We're talking about both human lives and the global economy. Just look at this figure, 1.3 million. That's a truly tragic number. Over 1.3 million lives could have been saved if access to vaccines had been equitable from the start. That would have helped prevent the spread and, crucially, the mutation of all those subsequent variants. And for your economics paper, make a note of this. $28 trillion. That's the estimated loss to the global economy. And it wasn't just a number, it was the direct result of lockdowns and broken supply chains, all caused by new variants popping up in unvaccinated populations. It's the ultimate proof that health security is economic security. Okay, so that's the problem. It's massive. But what's the proposed solution? Well, it's a framework built for equity, and it's called the Pathogen Access and Benefit-Sharing System, or as we'll call it, PABS. So for your notes, what exactly is PABS? It's a proposed legally binding system. That's the key phrase. It's designed to enforce fair sharing, making sure that countries that contribute pathogen data get fair and timely access to the medicines and vaccines that come out of it. PABS proposes several mandatory provisions, things like technology transfer and capacity building. But what's really crucial is this formula that requires manufacturers to give 20% of their production to the WHO. This creates a concrete, legally binding obligation, which is a huge shift from the voluntary systems we've had before. However, as you can probably guess, trying to implement PABS is not so straightforward. In fact, it's become a major point of contention between the developed nations of the global north and the developing nations of the global south. This table is perfect for summarizing the deadlock in your mains answer. Just look at the core conflict. The low and middle income countries, the LMICs, are demanding legally binding contracts. But the developed nations, they're pushing hard to keep everything voluntary. So this brings us to a very important question. Where does India stand in all of this? Well, I'm happy to say India has taken a very strong leadership position. India is really championing the cause for nearly 80% of the world's population. All these are countries that have suffered because, frankly, voluntary goodwill arrangements just haven't worked. But as we know, diplomacy is the art of the possible. So experts have started proposing a middle ground to try and break this deadlock. So what could that middle ground look like? Well, a few potential compromises are being explored. For example, a tiered system with different rules during a pandemic versus normal times. Or maybe a global fund to help poorer countries. The main goal here is to balance those guaranteed benefits with the innovation concerns of the developed world. All right, let's consolidate everything now, specifically for your exam preparation. How do you take all this information and use it effectively? Remember the key narrative. You need a story. It starts with the problem of inequity, moves to the proposed PABS solution, then to the geopolitical conflict, and finally highlights India's role as a leader of the global south. Exactly, and these points right here are the building blocks of your answer. You start with the core problem, shared risks, private rewards, then the staggering human and economic cost. You introduce PABS as the binding framework, explain the diplomatic conflict, and then, of course, you talk about India's leadership role. And you can be pretty sure that a question like this is very likely to come up. Our discussion today has given you all the components you need to structure a really high-scoring analytical answer for it. Ultimately, this all comes down to a matter of political will, not just bargaining. The core principle that we have to remember is that no one is safe until everyone is safe, because the next pandemic, it may not be very far off. All the very best with your preparation.